My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California.
Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. And license 05993A4. These are the sex offenders monitoring me in the bathroom, and they're all going to mental asylums. If you don't mind, I'm gonna just go ahead and get some of this light activity behind you. This is interesting. Excuse me. Yeah, this is impossible light activity that's occurring in this cave. So I just want you. This is where they're standing around with double shadows. Yeah, they're monitoring. This is underneath the parking structure. This is impossible light activity. And buenos dias. Yeah, they're monitoring. That's my shadow that's appearing over there. They're all going to mental asylums. RGS is engaging in what is bathroom monitoring, pacing in front of the apartment, gang stalking while I walk outside of it. They're the same sex offenders while engineer light moves across the ceiling, and they're mad. This is what the demons do. They engage in retaliatory acts that are harassing, terrorizing, and psychologically harmful. That's why they're going to mental asylums while they're stalking an engineer light in a shaded space under the fake sun that's in the same position where K. Hogue, or substantially similar, is gang stalking under this fake sun at 12:53 in the afternoon. It's already over apartment number 41 when it was already also over apartment 48 as I walked to that unit where he was gang stalking with the people of the state in these two buildings who are going to federal prison. All right, RGS's license plates. These are the Latino males. If they're not natural born citizens, you're going to send the likes of them out of this. All right, and they're engaging in the pattern of conduct with regard to what is retaliation because they're the ones that were monitoring my genitalia in the bathroom, and they're documented in the perpetual sex offense that's committed in bathrooms when you're being kept under surveillance by a bunch of predators, males like those that work for RGS, license 7N98091. They're going to mental asylums and going to prison, which these sex offenders, these pedophiles in Unit 41 are 04661DA. Impossible light. They're going to mental asylums. 9CZCO59 underneath, across 13, 12, 11. That's impossible light, and that's not the product of sunlight. That's the signature of gang stalking. It's also the signature of mental illness, and those are the ones in custody of minor children like to gang stalk with their kids. And this is crossing path. This is a demon that's pacing, monitoring with the engineered light that's dragging across the sidewalk. And they're coming around and gang stalking, not even speaking the English language, targeting me in my country, and a lot of them being granted the privilege to be here in order to engage in federal group stalking monitoring with the corrupt government, flying over the top of like they're doing under the fake sun that's at the same location at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Those are the two that are going to a mental asylum. And their gang stalking daddy that works for AVANATH, he's going to a mental asylum with them. They've been gang stalking with Ontario police as well. They're both going. smiling, cheesy from ear to ear when they're engaging in psychological torture. This is what they were doing with the Ontario Fire, remember? 12:54 in the afternoon, this same license plate to my side. Fake sun is here in the same position. Ontario Fire is right here. My shadow's appearing above my head on this apartment building, pacing right here. They were doing the same thing as demons under the fake sun after 4 o'clock in the evening. Fake sun is right here in the sky space over me, and they're pacing into Unit 41. They're gang stalking. And those are the sex offenders that are, again, psychopaths. They're cheesing. Like, it's funny to be documented as a sex offender and going to federal prison and mental asylums. That's really funny. We're definitely winning when we're being documented and being published on the internet. And people know what my kids look like with regard to engaging in what is domestic terrorism and monitoring the genitalia of a woman. That's really funny. Those are the ones that are going to mental asylums. They're gang stalking under engineered light. They're crossing paths, creating engineered light. That's what they were doing in the afternoon, by the way, with the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. The demons that were pacing, just like they are right there, that's P.O.C. And this is why RGS, they're going, this is what was happening inside of Tracy Banks' apartment. So let's get this psychopath. This is a demon, license 9LIT428. Impossible light is behind the car. Oh, go ahead. Impossible light is behind the car. P.O.C. license 9LIT428 with no rem on the back. And RGS is in relevant position gang stalking. Okay, this is the engaging in that pattern of conduct with the population. And Linda Reyes is going to federal prison. She's facilitating this domestic terrorism, and they're profiting. RGS is profiting, and so is AVANATH Capital Management. And you're witnessing mental illness while they engage in the pattern of conduct and conduct themselves as though they're engaging in nothing lawful and nothing that is has anything related to you, and is engaging in when it's under all circumstances targeting. It's 10:05 in the morning, and this is the fake sun that's over me, and no longer over Tracy Banks' apartment while I'm at her apartment, and doing so while I am documenting what is engineered light that's appearing. This is what they're eating their food in, and they're monitoring simultaneously. They're also monitoring while the demons are pacing onto the property, and engineered light's moving all across. They're the ones going to mental asylums. Okay, that's P.O.C. Both with the population and the gang stalking residents. And this is what AVANATH is going to be prosecuted for, because they're coming onto the grounds of the property. That's exactly what Ontario Fire is doing in the middle of the afternoon when this fake sun is still here. That's mental illness, by the way. 9LIT428, the signature of gang stalking with the impossible light activity, the signature of gang stalking as a whole family. This is a condition of a population that is engaged in the P.O.C. And I want to be clear, these Latino males here, while I'm sleeping in the living room and they're interested in what a woman is doing in a private space, that's a sex offender, while my shadow is appearing above them outside in the background. Good morning. And residents are gang stalking in the parking lot, pacing. All right, and coming onto the grounds, just engaging a little bit of gang stalking and then going on with the rest of their business for the day. That's P.O.C. This is the same parking lot where the Indy has the fake sun in the middle of the afternoon, when Uber Eats does the same thing, when Amazon Prime does the same thing. It's right here, and it's never going to create sunlight underneath cover structures. That's the pattern of conduct, and RGS is going to be prosecuted for it. All right, they're coming on and gang stalking with RGS, who's being documented. The pattern of conduct of demons is to come and share in that violence together, and it's not deviating from who is still going to mental asylums, RGS, and they're going to be deported while they're gang stalking with those that are natural-born citizens, and those that are not will be deported. 9LIT428 comes on to AVANATH Capital Management, who's going to be prosecuted for facilitating it. 41973W3 is gang stalking with 9LIT428. 13115H1 is gang stalking with 9LIT428, and so is AVANATH Capital Management gang stalking with the population. This is pacing. That's crossing a path. P.O.C. And none of this environment is the explanation for what is sweeping engineered light. And who's in relevant position when those phenomena happen? 9EXJ932. Under a fake sun that's not remaining over Tracy Banks' apartment. Stalker, demon, with a black face. 9EXJ932. P.O.C. Over 55. Has time in the day to just engage in a little gang stalking with the corrupt government. This is where the fake sun is at 12 o'clock in the afternoon when I'm documenting the same population coming onto the grounds, repeating the same thing. Not looking for anyone stalking under a fake sun, stalking amongst dynamic engineer light. All right, P.O.C. Yeah, he's a sex offender too. 0599384. P.O.C. And you already know what he is. He's under the gang fake sun with his grandkids at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's aimed in perfect alignment with me, and his shadow's appearing in the living room. You already know that he's gang stalking. That's a demon stalking with noise as I move my arm like this. P.O.C. P.O.C. And that's, again, you're witnessing mental illness while they're targeting somebody, and you know that they are. He's doing the same thing, and that's never creating your shadow inside of somebody else's apartment. Okay, it's also not going to create your shadow above your head outside. All right, the entity is engaging in, like I've documented, the P.O.C. This is, again, the same fake sun that's still here after 5 p.m. And all the license plates that I just read, they represent third parties. This third party in the white truck, RGS, AVANATH Capital Management, who you see represented by an employee, and it's represented by this property where the population is also coming onto the grounds and sharing in that P.O.C. What you'll also is that while the sun is over me in Los Angeles at the same time, it's not going to be reflecting off of some windshield or window of a vehicle in Ontario, and it would never be anywhere in Los Angeles while it is rising and setting here, remaining over me. And sunlight is never that which is bouncing inside of your apartment, shooting horizontally through Tracy Banks' apartment, which you're already aware, and also doing so with regard to what is hours from now where the Ontario Fire is gang stalking, where the Ontario San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department is gang stalking. And the entity is doing so pursuant to what is the very foolish acts providing conclusive evidence about what sex offenders do, about what psychopaths do in practice as an entity. It's pointing directly to the mental illness of Paul Leon, the mental illness of Michael Gherkin, the mental illness of Mike Lorenz, the mental illness of Alan D. WAPNER. These are those that are in positions of authority, making a lot of money while engaging in sexual violence, such as monitoring and stalking a woman as a means of a government department. I want to be clear, they spend a lot of money in these corrupt departments in Ontario to keep me under surveillance. You have a whole demonic environment surrounding me at a senior citizen apartment complex where those over 55 who cannot pay their rent are sitting around focused on gang stalking me with the population that comes onto the grounds to participate in it. Okay, this is what AVANATH Capital Management is paying its employees at Woodside Senior Apartments to engage in. They're not remaining employed, and none of them are remaining at this venue for purposes of prosecution. And everyone in 33 through 64, these units in these two buildings, they're all going to prison and mental asylums. And you saw the mental health patients engage in that pattern of conduct by pacing outside of the vehicle. And you can look at the same video of what they're doing at 5 o'clock in the evening, at 2:30 in the afternoon, at 12:30, at what is 8 o'clock in the morning, when you're looking at what is tying them all together, the specific environment, and they're mentally ill while they also gang stalk with their kids. Again, that's license 9CZCO59. This is P.O.C. Linda Reyes is going to federal prison. She can sit in her office. She doesn't have to be on camera, but we already have that. And you know, when she's gang stalking under the fake sun, which would be 11 a.m. During daylight savings time, it's still here. She's going to prison with all the demons on the property where she's being paid a salary by a gang stalking third party such as AVANATH, who's engaging in and is facilitating federal group stalking and monitoring. That's why the government comes onto the grounds gang stalking with her, with AVANATH Capital, with the residents, and with the population that's on the grounds under a fake sun as well. It is a system of federal group stalking and monitoring, and is entirely demented. All right, those Latino males, RGS, those are the demons that are engaging in what is documented. So I'm going to publish it again because they are engaged in bathroom monitoring. And those same demons who you see in images, those are the same ones that are monitoring my genitalia between my legs when I'm in the private space of the bathroom in here, where there's no sunlight that's going to remain inside the same apartment like it is now. And it just engages in this sort of migration in this direction, which will be underneath the door, still reaching into the depths of an apartment while the sun is outside. It's speaking to the P.O.C. The entity is also engaging in the pattern of conduct when you're looking at the signature of engineer light. This is the light that's sweeping at a distance away from the demons who were pacing in the parking lot in order to monitor me. That is speaking to a population that knows where I'm at as the fake sun remains over me inside of the depths, into the depths of the parking lot, moving away from the apartment where this fake sun remains planted after 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and it's still over this same apartment building while it makes an incremental, negligible movement, non-movement in other words, until 5 p.m. right over here, where it was already at as I walk over there in the morning time. All right, that's the prosecution of the state and the bunch of sex offenders who are hostile engage in stalking via impossible light that sweeps across the ceiling. Engineered light that you can see here, stationary, creating the shadow of this light bulb, as you can see my hand reaching in it. And this is an entity that has given up with regard to trying to appear innocent. You're not going to appear innocent. I've already prosecuted them. So they're providing this level of incriminating evidence against itself. The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department is gang stalking under the same exact circumstances. They do so driving a vehicle that's pointing to Shannon Dykes' sexual perversion, his corruption, his engagement in what is terrorism, and facilitating it amongst an entirely corrupt and demon-possessed department. That's why you had a demon wearing a San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. You know that based on the specific environment that's present. When they're all monitoring my genitalia between my legs in the bathroom, as I documented at 12:41 in the afternoon, where at 12:41 in the afternoon, the fake sun is right here where K Hogue is gang stalking path with the same exact population. It's 10 o'clock, so 2 hours from now, over 2 hours from now, 2 and almost 3 hours, this is where the fake sun is going to be, and that's non-movement. Right now at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, this is not anywhere in Florida. It's also not going to be anywhere even in Los Angeles. It's not moving anywhere. It stays right over this apartment building where you just saw an iteration of the P.O.C. All those license plates, they're going to be prosecuted for federal group stalking, monitoring, and engaging in what is, this is going on under what is a specific instance of what is harassment, because I'm documenting, I'm just speaking to the entity that's motivated by very foolish conduct. This is the mental illness of the entity, psychopaths that suffer from some enlarged ego that is actually irreconcilable with who they actually are and what they're actually capable of and what their actual abilities are. And you have engaging in what are retaliatory acts when you are fully surrounded and overwhelmed with evidence, and all I have to do is go outside, and I don't have to do that. No target individual, you shouldn't endanger yourself and do that, because these are psychopaths who are deriving pleasure from monitoring your anatomy, your genitalia, and then they're hostile because you document and enforce your rights to not be subject to that level of perverted and sexually motivated and predatory criminal conduct that the government wastes millions of dollars on. That is bathroom monitoring. All right, and this is what's going on at Woodside Senior Apartments, which is also why AVANATH Capital Management is going to be prosecuted civilly and criminally, because over this apartment complex at 12:53 p.m., which you saw on video yesterday, this is where the fake sun remains in alignment to me, like it is right now, which defies nature and has nothing to do with this very quickly moving engineered light. You can see two shadows of the floor lamp. In the afternoon, the shadow of this whole floor lamp is on the ceiling. You're looking at what is nothing other than different angles of engineered light, and this is directly documenting everyone that I just identified. And that's speaking to the city of Ontario. The state is being prosecuted, but those particular defendants in the white truck and the RGS vehicles get all lined up under what is a parking structure and engineered light. It doesn't get any more obvious than that with regard to who are the sex offenders going to the mental asylums. And it is the RGS employees who are engaging in retaliatory conduct because their sexual violence is being published, it's being documented. And no sex offender that's engaging in domestic terrorism is going to engage in such retaliatory conduct, and no state is going to sign off on that, which is exactly what California is doing, while gang stalking with sex offenders that have some sort of chip on their shoulder. While engineered light is moving across inside of Tracy Banks' apartment when they're monitoring me and knowing that I've opened my eyes, okay? That's the P.O.C. This is engineered light that's moving across here, and this is my hand. So I just want to, this is the same light activity, the same state of affairs outside. This is my hand right here. That's absolutely impossible light activity. And they are not engaging in what is landscaping. They're not engaging in what is actual employment. Those are the psychopaths who you see keep a straight face driving into the parking lot as though they're looking for something. They're all gang stalking, and they're demons too. They're not only poor actors, they're not only unintelligent. All right, there's no education requirement. There's no experience required in order to be a demon-possessed gang stalker. They're just willing, and they walk right into what is a net for federal prison. Everybody in units 33 through 64, while engineered light is swooping inside of this apartment, they're going to mental asylums and federal prison. So is Linda Reyes and her employee that works in unit number 41, with whom every occupant, like you saw in this video, is gang stalking with those who are also going to mental asylums, RGS's employees, who you see lined up underneath a covered structure, and engineered light is appearing behind their heads because they're monitoring, and they're demons who know exactly who I am. They're on the grounds engaging what is profiting from federal group stalking monitoring, where no sunlight is ever going to be dynamic like it is, like I documented right before I got up. And this is the character of that light that is stationary, and it's very slowly moving. Actually, it's very rapidly moving because it was right here showing the shadow of this, and now it's moving very rapidly, whereas the fake sun's not going anywhere. This is distinct from the sun. It has nothing to do with sunlight. All right, this is where the entity is also gang stalking with light into the depths of the apartment, like I've already, what is the peephole, and that is never going to be where sunlight is coming from. At not only speaking to what is the ability for sunlight that's coming from the sun outside, the sun that would not be idle and stationary over one building, okay, but also light that is coming at a different angle to be horizontally and at such a high level of concentration. Okay, that's what I've documented with regard to what is distinct from framing the front door. This is present on a cloudy day. It's present before the fake sun rises. That is in the dark. It is present in the evening when the fake sun's on this side of the apartment. It's the signature of gang stalkers, and that's what's covering outside when they're driving by, when they're sitting under the carports. This is the monitoring system, and the fake sun is the unpersuasive ornament in the sky, speaking to the demonic environment where the demon possessed are gang stalking, and they're gang stalking in what are apartments, gang stalking you in your homes. That is, gang stalking is a term of art for nothing other than surveillance. Surveillance, which is satanic. This is not sunlight, and that is not the sun. And you also know that, because when you look outside, that which is remaining over this apartment and over me at Ontario at Woodside is not the same light source over you in Louisiana and in Mississippi and in Texas and Nevada, and even in Northern California. But I'm not talking to anybody in California, because they're all gang stalking in California. All right, I'm talking to you that are outside of where the state where I'm at, that is fully engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. I'm prosecuting the entire state, while Satan placed what is an impossibility over the top of my head in order for you to identify the condition of those who are stalking you maliciously, conspicuously right in front of your face, and their ability to wear a mask is impossible now. As impossible as that light source ever being the natural environment, as impossible as sunlight being produced inside of where it is that you're living at a horizontal through closed blinds under window coverings, and remaining in manners such as being under covered structures. It's coming at an angle underneath. Absolutely impossible light, speaking to the shadow that you're seeing of the chair beneath it. And you're looking at what is also documented simultaneously. The sun is over me in Los Angeles. And this is the same character of the light after 5 p.m. This is what's happening when the demon that you see in Unit 41 wearing an AVANATH uniform is walking on this same sidewalk, and his shadow is appearing on the inside of this apartment. Okay, and this is, if you pay the same condition, very, very subtle, but you can nonetheless see my shadow. That's what these sex offenders are. After 2 o'clock in the afternoon, when the fake sun, as the entity has admitted, very unintelligent, and it's reflecting off of a windshield of the same lot. It is currently 10:19 a.m. You just witnessed the demon-possessed gang stalking, driving the white pickup truck that was a Caucasian male, driving the RGS pickup trucks, all those Latino males, and the population, the demon with driving the Acura that has no back rims on, no back bumper on it. The entity is gang stalking while they can't even afford to live what is an aesthetically appropriate vehicle to gang stalk in, while they're the purpose is, no matter how raggedy their beater is, to cross path with engineer light moving across underneath that parking structure. And it doesn't matter what race they are, it doesn't matter how old they are. You're looking at the pedophiles in unit number gang stalking in the same manner. They're the demons who you see pacing under the fake sun that's still here after 2 o'clock in the afternoon. 9 CZC. Oh, those are the mentally ill mental patients. The mentally ill psychopaths, they're mental health patients that are cheesing from ear to ear while they're being documented. And believe me, it is a psychopath that is demon possessed that's telling themselves that it's funny while they are being prosecuted. They are going to mental asylums. And the demon in unit number 55, stalking with amplified noise. This is where the fake sun is still beaming through the same window after 5 p.m. and you're looking at it. It's over the window right now. That meaning for it to be piercing through, it's so powerful for it to be piercing through at the edge of what are closed blinds and in between perfectly, as the demons fail in what is a false and implausible illusion that the fake sun is the reason for the same exact impossible light activity that's here right now. And it's not. Okay, but the entity has the fake sun in the same position, and for it to be in a position, by admission, while I capture it, that is still the evidence of what is a non-moving fake sun. All right, and you're also looking at the government that is indeed stalking while they're flying relative to my location. That's the city of Ontario, that's the state of California, and they spend a lot of money, invest a lot of money in monitoring my genitalia. This is why you have the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, the Ontario Police Department, the Ontario Fire Department, the Ontario International Airport. You have the entity that is engaged in a statewide effort with corrupt actors who are also immigrants. They're being deported. And while the state is gang stalking, they're adding to what is the doctrine for deportation of gang stalkers who have been granted in this city, in this state, and it doesn't include engaging in terrorism with the government. Crossing path under the fake sun is the P.O.C. All right, that's the P.O.C. His license plate is already on the record. He is going to be prosecuted. He's a sex offender monitoring a woman inside in violation of the Violence Against Women Act. This gang stalking is going to be prosecuted for all of these third parties who are living at Woodside who are stalking in violation of the Violence Against Women Act. And so is the government's stalking conduct, and the government is acting through the residents and the population. And they're all being moved out of these apartments, and AVANATH is going to be prosecuted as well, while the third party is facilitating gang stalking, that is, targeting its own occupants through its own residents and employees in concert with the corrupt government that you can clearly see is stalking under the fake sun. They're not flying near the sun that's in Los Angeles over me in the same manner. They're gang stalking under the ornament in the sky where you are documenting and witnessing what is the demon possessed who are gang stalking with impunity. This is what they're doing while engineer light is sweeping dynamic inside of the living room, pacing like this under a fake sun. This is what Amazon Prime is doing then at 3 o'clock in the afternoon while it's still over the building. Multiple bodies, same demonic entity, pacing. That's what this is. And they're doing so while they're engaging in what is the unlawful and means of what is profiting. All right, this is engagement in that P.O.C. together. It's 10:23 a.m. and this is context because I documented a bunch of sex offenders, and I'm going to add more because they're engaged in monitoring my genitalia. You need to know that Latino men and white men and black women and Latino women are obsessed with my genitalia while you just saw them engage in the P.O.C. You already know that about the sex offenders at Unit 41. That's why they're pacing in real time in order to get in on that pattern of conduct. And so is the government, obsessed with my genitalia, engaging in surveillance in bathrooms. And that's what's so embarrassing while they're engaging in it. And the P.O.C. is to engage in psychological torture tactics like I'm outlining now. And I want you to see the demons who are gang stalking while that's underway inside of an apartment. No sun in the natural environment is going to still be here in order to be seen through the window, creating any sunlight. That's the P.O.C. of stalking, gang stalking at an apartment. While the Ontario International Airport, the Alan D. WAPNER, a demon-possessed sex offender obsessed with my genitalia, and is engaging and interested spending millions of money through gang stalking airlines to fly over this multi-family residence of senior citizens over 55. When you're looking at amplified plane, which I hear in the background, and here's the shadow of a figure that's standing in both in the sunlight and in the shade. That's impossible light. Looking at a demon that's pacing back and forth from the pool to his truck. That's again the malice. This is what he's doing in the afternoon, and his shadow's appearing on the inside of the living room. All right, this is the gang stalking conduct state, the state that you see flying above, and gang stalk sex offenders obsessed with my genitalia. And recognizing what is understanding the malice of AVANATH Capital Management, its workforce, and the residents at the venue. And that's a comprehensive prosecution of the state. And this is all happening while the documentation speaking to what LAPD and Karen Base and the city of Los Angeles is engaging in with regard to the same exact pattern of conduct that includes recognizing an environment that defies nature. This fake sun doesn't go anywhere into the evening like I documented after 6 p.m. and it's right here in perfect alignment with me. So you're looking at what is maintaining a zigzag right here after 6 p.m. where at the same time I'm documenting the sun is setting in alignment to my bedroom window, in alignment to me, that is, defying nature, where it's also rising in alignment to me, while it's also remaining over the top of my head, while LAPD is gang stalking in the sky space like the city of Ontario is. LAPD is using helicopters, and the city of LA is using what is you need to know. LAX is a gang stalker, just like the Ontario International Airport, to keep me under surveillance and engage in what is being prosecuted at the same time. When you are engaging in the P.O.C., which is supposed to be a secret system, and then you're still continuously engaging in it with regard to failed and some sort of illusion in the demon-possessed mind that they're engaging in some sort of act of retaliation, when the retaliation is impossible, you've already been exposed and prosecuted, and while the feds are also watching. Though that is, again, the formula for mental health. Okay, mental health crises that exist amongst the population that is, in fact, demon-possessed. All right, demon possession is directly impacting the corruption, the sexual perversion, and the criminality that the city of Ontario is openly exhibiting. All right, it is currently 10:26 a.m. This is the P.O.C. There is no, by the way, with regard to the kidnapping that this entity committed on June 16, 2022, same time of year analysis and same time, 10:29 a.m. I'm documenting the fake sun over 215 East C Street. This is not over the Ovid Family Community Library. While you're looking at what is its stationary presence, and this is where sunlight is being aimed. If it's over the roof, like I documented, when the entity committed a kidnapping while engaging in gang stalking, which is why the Ontario police is being disbanded, and those gang stalking police are going to federal prison, and that's exactly why where they belong, because you know that they're still gang stalking while the demons in Ontario are still monitoring, and they are the ones also obsessed with my genitalia, while they then kidnap me because I'm exposing the fact that they're obsessed with my genitalia, spending millions of dollars as a corrupt police department because they're obsessed with my genitalia while they serve Satan. This is how embarrassing it is to be a servant of Satan, who laughs at you when you start to face judgment for the criminal conduct now in the physical, based on what is your spiritual condition, which is pointing directly to your severely demented mind state. Stalking in planes and in helicopters as a population, in doing so with the psychotic and circus-like conduct with the light, the engineered light, where they're all engaging in federal stalking under Title 18. It is currently, again, 10:27 a.m. This is the entity criminally interfering with quiet enjoyment. As you saw yesterday after 6 p.m., this staircase, the shadow of it is appearing on this defendant's wall, Unit 52. They're going to prison. The fake sun is over me, and hours from now, it's still over me right here, and it's creating the upright shadow of this very exact. That's speaking to non-movement of a sun. They're engaging in gang stalking with the city of Ontario that's coming onto the grounds, helping them. Every elderly person, they can walk around on a cane, on a walker, with edema socks on, with liver spots and crusty skin. They're going to prison. They're going to prison and they're going to mental asylums, and the population gang stalking with them is going to be prosecuted. They're walking away with serious criminal records for terrorism and being a sex offender, because that's what gang stalking is. It is currently 10:28 a.m. This is P.O.C. the entity amplifying plain activity, and it's the identical circumstances that I'm documenting at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 or 5, 6 o'clock in the evening, where the sun has not gone anywhere when it's on from this side of the building to nothing other than that side of the building. All right, speaking to the impossibility that I would ever have been in a circumstance where I could have documented, like I did, the sun over me at any time of day, let alone for the duration of the day, in Los Angeles. Okay, it is currently, again, 10:28 a.m. This is documentation of criminal interference where stationary engineer light that you see on the ceiling, not making up anything. This is what was made dynamic on this side, inside, and also during the course of this video, sweeping across the defendant Tracy Banks' ceiling. And they engage in these I want you to see this light up here. You see it as I move around? These are sex offenders that are obsessed with my genitalia. They're obsessed with touching me while they're stalking. And it is the signature of gang stalking by demons who are inexplicably obsessed with you. Their obsession is what you need to know about because it's a national security threat. That's why there will be fire departments and police departments and airports shut down. That's why a lot of people are going to prison and they're going to mental asylums. As you can still see, they're not able to help themselves. They need to be aided with serious time in federal facilities, high security federal facilities, as you're witnessing impunity and ongoing gang stalking, even where you are going to lose a lot of money. I'm going to drain the pockets of mom and pop companies that are aided by the corrupt government. That's what San Bernardino County was doing with RGS, who was gang stalking. That's what the Ontario Fire Department is doing with RGS, who was gang stalking. As they drive away from the venue, you can understand they're still gang stalking because the fake sun doesn't go away with the government that comes onto the grounds to participate directly. It stays right here while RGS is still gang stalking. All right, they're going to mental asylums while you see them sitting like the gang of demons that they are under a carport and engineer light. That is shadows appearing upright in the shade. Those are demons, and they are obsessed with my genitalia, and then they engage in psychological torture, and they're still continuously gang stalking as a company and as the employees of that company, because I documented the fact that they're obsessed with my genitalia. That is stalking. That's no constitutionally protected obsession. They're stalking and engaging in surveillance and monitoring in the bathroom, and it's that which is signed off by the state, who you see gang stalking with them, gang stalking through them. It's 10:30 a.m. This is P.O.C. All right, the video that you just listened to, now that I am processing it on my device that is kept under surveillance by the same defendants, the same sex offenders, the same pedophiles, etc., that I documented in video, who represent the entity, the public entity, and the demon-possessed entity that is the people of the state, are documented. I want to be clear specifically, the third parties that are pacing in the parking lot and go on about the rest of their day, they're being prosecuted for engaging in criminal acts of obstruction of justice, while at 11:23 a.m. with simultaneity to operating my device that is processing the video to put it on the podcast, like you just heard. This is when engineer light again is swiping across the stationary light that you see framing Tracy Banks's door. That light is just dynamic, meaning the engineer light is going up the wall and then a straight perpendicular angle across the ceiling, and it sweeps across the living room in an angle where the entity is targeting me, with simultaneity to the operation of my device. And the same demons that are going to mental asylums are pacing on the sidewalk, just like you saw the pool cleaner. I want to be clear, that Caucasian male that's driving that white pickup truck that's running, this is somebody that is manifesting demon possession right in front of your face, by the way, and is engaged in what is domestic terrorism right in front of the feds, very foolishly. In the physical, I'm capturing both spiritual and physical conduct regarding demonic activity, but nonetheless it's criminal. And these third parties are pacing just like they are under the fake sun, and their shadows are moving across Tracy Banks, that's the defendant, Tracy Banks's living room window and Tracy Banks's patio glass door. And you're also aware of the reality of that, as you've already seen me capture impossible light activity that is demonic in its character. And it's also the ways in which gang stalking is executed with this engineered light and what is occurring under a fake sun. It's the unpersuasive guise of everything is covered in sunlight, and all this manifestation, all this all this light activity is, I guess, the demons never planned for it to be zoomed in on and captured on video, because it's not sunlight. Your shadow is not appearing like 15 feet away from you. That's not your shadow. That's not the product of sunlight either. This is what they're doing when they know that I'm processing it. All the same license plate that you just heard, all the defendants that are, again, sitting around pacing like psychopaths, they do that when my panties are down in the bathroom. That's what you need to know about the perverts who are gang stalking and who are going to be diagnosed by professionals, as I am documenting them, and it is used to diagnose their severe mental illness that is also speaking to their perverted conduct that is engaging in criminally targeting a woman who they are stalking together, which is mentally sick in the first place. So this is speaking to what? Federal stalking. On my device, on the venue of the internet, that AVANATH is being prosecuted for. It's criminal interference with quiet enjoyment that AVANATH's employees are going to federal prison for. They're gang stalking pacing by working at the venue. They're gang stalking by facilitating it, calling the pool cleaner here, who's gang stalking, calling the landscapers here, who are gang stalking. Profiting from the residents who remain here, who are gang stalking. The entity is gang stalking with the state also, that you could see in the video, flying right over me in relevant position under the fake sun. They're flying higher than the elevation of this fake sun. And the fake sun doesn't go anywhere while they're all engaging in what is pacing. And they just engage in this stalking with engineer light again at 11:27 a.m. It's going right back to how the defendants are going to be treated under federal law. And the public officials whose demon possession, which is speaking to their mental illness, their criminal conduct, and their mental illness, are both disqualifications for remaining. They're disqualified from remaining. They're unfit, not only because of their the criminal conduct that's happening on their watch, the criminal conduct that's happening amongst their departments, the criminal conduct that's happening throughout the city amongst the population that they are a part of. That is an under all circumstances surrounding the entirety of the entity, including the corrupt aspects of the government in Ontario and in San Bernardino County, like San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department represents, who are monitoring together. That's the significance of engineer light, like you can see on video, and it is dynamic with regard to retaliatory acts committed by demons whose faces are being shown because they're monitoring my genitalia, because they're sex offenders and stalkers in bathrooms. And they're doing so with regard to knowledge that they're being documented. This is what the entity is doing while I'm documenting it on my device. And that's what's happening with simultaneity to the operation of my device. And it's happening again while I am documenting them right now at 11:27 a.m. like I just referenced. The entity is engaging in this while the fake sun is still going to be here, like I documented yesterday evening after 6 p.m. And the engineer light that's dynamic inside of Tracy Banks' apartment is distinct from what is the fake sun, where they're all demons pacing all around all day long, including gang stalking me inside of an apartment, which is an unprecedented criminal act committed by an apartment complex, the property management company, the residents at the apartment complex, the population that is the city of Ontario, and the city of Ontario, the government itself. And this is the bigger picture about what the state of California is doing, which I've also proven as I've traveled from city to city. And you've seen the Arcadia police in Arcadia gang stalking. You've seen the Monrovia Police Department gang stalking in Monrovia. You've seen the Pasadena Police gang stalking in Pasadena. You've seen the Los Angeles Police gang stalking in Los Angeles. Okay, this is the entity that is engaging in the pattern of conduct. You've seen the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department gang stalking in Las Vegas, Nevada. This is what they're doing in Ontario, and the entire entity is being prosecuted for it. Engaging in psychological torture with things such as engineer light, it's going to put the gang stalkers in mental asylums, and that's where RGS is going. The gang stalkers that are coming onto the grounds, like I documented, the license plate, the Acura with no bumper, the African-American female gang stalking, either as a resident, her specific identity is going to be produced, where it is that she resides and whatnot, whether she is, in other words, a gang stalking resident specific to what is losing housing, what is being prosecuted for stalking under Violence Against Women Act, which again, any stranger, and that is in air quotes because none of them are in fact strangers to me, they're all stalking, and you know that they are targeting, knowing who they are stalking and targeting because of the engineer light and the fake sun and the gang stalking conduct by the state directly. Nonetheless, the distinction between resident and non-resident makes the difference regarding federal prison, mental asylums, with regard to how heavily you've been documented. Like RGS, they're going to mental asylums while they're still engaging in this retaliatory acts, as I narrate in real time, and they're all pacing around. They're going to mental asylums, and they have hereby placed themselves in those facilities where they belong. They also belong out of this country, and that's where they're going to be deported after they spend time in the federal facilities, which justice requires, and a federal prosecution for repeatedly facilitating, like RGS employees are, like RGS the company is. where you have been granted this privilege to be in this country. And it is indeed a privilege that does not include sharing and helping the government engage in what is terrorism, like the city of Ontario is doing, like the state of California is practicing as a state-wide system. You are going to be deported, and you have what is the support for what the federal government, I want to be clear, what the federal government is doing right now under the current president is that which is going to execute justice in California, because they're gang stalking in California and no one is shedding a tear for them. As you can see, they act with zero remorse. They engage in sexual violence with zero remorse. In fact, they become more violent. They become more threatening. You are deporting that very population out of the state. So regardless of where you stand with regard to politics, this is not any sort of political rant. It is doing exactly what the Lord God has said was going to be done. All right. And I want to be clear, the gang stalkers who are immigrants in California, they belong out of this country. It's 11:31 a.m. They are engaging in ongoing harassment and terrorism while the entity is filling the apartment with dynamic engineered light, which is a supernatural occurrence. It's speaking to intent. It's not accidentally occurring in a supernatural means. It's not coincidentally occurring in a supernatural means when you are directly and relevant in the line in my path under the supernatural occurrence of what is the fake sun. Coincidentally, while the government is engaging in a pattern of harassing with planes and helicopters and amplification of that which is impossible to hear under all circumstances in the ways in which I've shown, this is the pattern of conduct. You don't have an ongoing coincidences amongst supernatural occurrences. It's the P.O.C. where the demon possessed are targeting someone, and they foolishly do so with regard to accruing more and more time in prison. Linda Reyes, she's a property manager, and she's immediately been converted into a felon, and she's going to sit in federal prison for years. Just as sure as this engineer light is sweeping on the ceiling inside of the apartment where she is engaged in employment, just like every other gang stalking employee of speaker companies that were targeting me in the workplace. She's doing so as an occupant at AVANATH Woodside Senior Apartments. She's going to sit in prison. All right, it is currently 11:32 a.m. and Linda Reyes belongs in prison for a prolonged period of time because she continuously is gang stalking. As you're understanding the legal analysis and the gang stalking entity that will be putting themselves in prison and mental asylums, and their co-defendants are going to suffer those sentences, but nobody's getting away with anything. The entity is being prosecuted comprehensively, and their mental illness is going to put them in mental asylums. Their mental illness is going to be diagnosed by their criminal activity. It is currently 11:33 a.m. This is the entity that's engaging in what is criminal acts of obstruction of justice, while they are keeping my devices under surveillance, keeping my internet activity under surveillance. And it is also speaking for what is the removal of the corrupt departments in Ontario who are wasting millions of dollars on criminal conduct. And there are more efficient, more productive, more important things that the city of Ontario can spend millions of dollars on, such as not funding domestic terrorism by paying the rent of the gang stalkers in the city of Ontario, like Woodside Senior Apartments represents. There are going to be laws that change, and the way in which the system operates, which facilitates domestic terrorism and makes it more convenient for gang stalkers to sit at home and keep someone under surveillance, like what I represent. Okay, it is currently 11:33 a.m. This is P.O.C. All right, I want to document the entity gang stalking and using what is the venue of the internet, okay? So this is speaking to what is exposing a system of surveillance that we are all subject to in the United States. Contrary to what we're told about our so-called constitutional rights, you are going to witness me enforcing my constitutional rights just because the government is clearly not respecting and actually adhering to the constitutional doctrines that provide authority to engage in things such as impeding upon a Fourth Amendment right that is competing with what is warrants and probable cause to conduct an investigation, where you can be kept under surveillance, where there is some facts and circumstances where the government has some lawful means whereby they are suspecting that you are guilty or have committed some sort of crime and whatnot. None of this is the case while we are all kept under surveillance as a way of life in the United States. Second of all, you need to understand this is what I am in reference to when I'm speaking to things such as gang stalking. Gang stalking is the commission of what is already criminal. Surveillance by the government is a crime. It's in direct contravention of the very purpose of the Constitution. Number one. Number two, gang stalking is a crime because the entity is gang stalking one whom they are targeting for purposes of kidnapping, for purposes of murder, for purposes of whatever benefit that the entity that is also demon possessed seeks to derive from the person who is indeed being targeted within the confines of what is already a system of surveillance. And you need to know that it is satanic. Okay, so I just want to be clear with regard to gang stalking. I'm honing in on what is a surveillance system that we're all subject to, and you are aware of that. You can look outside and see what is, as properly referred to, as I've named it, the fake sun, distinct from what is the natural environment. Okay, when God created everything, he did not create the sun that is over all of us in different locations and maintaining this ubiquitous presence. That's demonic. And you need to understand that Satan, that wants to be a god, the fake wannabe, the counterfeit, he's not the equal opposite. He is a created being. Okay, he is a created being that is devoted to darkness, having a lot of power, however, spiritually, but nonetheless a created being, and is not the equal opposite of God. Okay, he is not the opposing force of God. He is not on the same level as God at all. He has already been judged with regard to what he knows is his penalty, eternal damnation. And Satan's job is to deceive as many people, to keep as many people in the darkness as possible until time runs out. And you have a lot of people that are going to burn in hell. Unfortunately, this is the reality, this is scripture, and this is the inevitable fate of Satan and his demons. It was never designed, however, for human beings like you and I. The Lord Jesus has provided us a way out of that eternal judgment that was never intended for us, and it is through the sacrifice of his own son, Christ Jesus. Just my own just understanding the love of Christ, it is because God himself, who knew that we were going to fall into sin when he created us, he knew what Adam and Eve were going to do from the beginning. And that's how much he loves us. He knew that in other words, he also knew that he was going to have to die to save us. He knew that at the outset. That is a love story. And I also want to speak to the fact, not only did he know that he was going to have to die, he knew that Satan was going to deceive us. He knew that we were going to be disobedient. And he has mercy on us in view of who Satan is. This is not providing a license for sin. This is not pacifying the wicked things that are done. And he has provided a way of salvation through Christ Jesus alone. It is a very exclusive door. Okay, but he has provided that, knowing who Satan is, knowing the devices of the enemy, knowing how as human beings we are lost. We're born into sin. We are sinful beings, and we are prone to be deceived and walk in darkness. And those even who ignorantly do so, and those who knowingly do so, who delight in wickedness, who are, I want to be clear, also speaking to what is the demented minds of those who are given over to darkness. You're witnessing it. It is as we referred to in the physical, this secular society that refers to mental health. You need to know that that's the condition of those who refuse Christ. The condition of those who are given over to sin. That's what the demon-possessed gang stalkers are literally exhibiting while they're engaging in what is demented behavior as human beings, who also desperately at the same time are duplicitous. They want to appear one way when they are actually another. That is speaking to knowledge regarding wrongful conduct, knowledge regarding what is weird, what is not fully understood and unaccepted, what is not ready to be fully exposed yet. Those are psychopaths who also derive pleasure from what is their secret engagement in targeting another that they know does not deserve this. They're targeting people that they know they have no, why are you targeting this person? They couldn't give you an answer for it. All right, these are the demon-possessed, and their mental illness, by definition, even with the secular world that has provided these umbrellas that we accept in order to curse ourselves, and I speak against that. I really do. You need to stop cursing yourselves. And a lot of times you have people that don't know any better, okay, and you are giving into and conceding to these curses that are spoken over you when you are not mentally ill at all. Actual mental illness is something that the people of the state are demonstrating, that the government is demonstrating, while it's attributed to spiritual darkness. Okay, now when you're born with health conditions, something like Down syndrome, something which is a condition that you're born with, something that you have absolutely no control over, and I'm not going to get into other things like generational curses and the sins of forefathers and whatnot. But it just goes to say, though, that there is a whole spiritual realm, and there is context, and the Lord God, who is on high, who is all-knowing, he is the one that gives understanding with regard to the things that we experience in the physical. It is rooted with regard to what's going on in the spiritual. Now, this is not to say that every condition that you have is because you're in sin or because you're lost. And I'm not speaking that is an overstatement. That is, I'm not making an absolute, but I am speaking to, there is an absolute spiritual realm, and everything is happening in the spirit. Everything is existing in the spirit, and you have what is physically, that which you can witness, in other words, that which you can see and touch and feel with our five senses as human beings, as carnal beings. All right. There is a spiritual realm behind it. And the demon possessed, Satan himself, who is a spirit, also knows that. And while focusing on the physical, the carnal, creates a whole environment around you, creating an illusion in order to mimic what you would refer to as, unsuspecting the natural environment around us. And it is affecting the entire existence that we recognize and that we are sharing existence in. And so I want to preface what I'm speaking to the venue of the venue of the internet, where monitoring is underway, and electronic devices, the operation of the internet is speaking to that which is rooted in the demonic, where you can be watching something online and you are still subject to monitoring, even if you are, for example, using social media and you pay to not be subject to ads. So that is one means whereby ads are not a means of monitoring you, where ads are used to interfere with whatever content that you're watching. And monitoring is evidenced through not only the substance of the content in an ad, but also the timing that the ads appear. It's a means of monitoring. It's the same demonic formula. Stalking with regard to the moment that the ad pops up, and also with regard to studying you, monitoring you, aware of who you are personally, even the content of ads, even when you select things such as do not monitor, or for lack of a better terms, store your internet history in order to create ads that are specific to you or what it is that you view. Even when you select that to not have it, everything is subject to surveillance. We're all subject to surveillance. So you will still be subject to what is monitoring on the venue of the internet via ads, which even in the substance of those ads are a means of knowledge of who you are, knowledge of what it is that's concerning your life, knowledge of even what may trigger you, knowledge of things that you're ignorant about, knowledge of any subliminal messages. These are all the things that the demon possessed use. And this is, again, the demon possessed, you're talking about the spiritual realm, and it is occurring on the venue of the internet. This is with regard to the pattern of conduct, as I'm subject to it this morning while I'm sleeping, and all of the entity is focused on me while I'm asleep. And this is again the entity that's embarrassed by being shown as stalkers to be so obsessed with little old me. And I'm not speaking to it because it's something that I like or something that I find to be a compliment. It's not. It's literally a crime. It's a threat to your existence. Why are you obsessed with me? Why are you stalking? Why are you concerned about the moment, whatever's going on in the bathroom? Why are you concerned about what I'm getting up to eat, when I eat, how I prepare it? Why are you obsessed with how many times I chew before I swallow? Why are you obsessed with how many times I'm blinking every minute? Why are you obsessed when I reach down to scratch my ankle? Why are you obsessed with that? Why are you concerned with that? Which the demon possessed are. You need to understand that these are spirits animating people, generating that sort of inexplicable and very demented interest. I don't care how much you are in love with someone. These people don't even have a relationship with me, though. Not one that I'm aware of, not one that I've consented to, and not one that is constitutional or humane. But these are the demon possessed, and it is occurring on the venue of the internet. So I am listening to content online. And if you're aware, for example, how YouTube operates, you can watch something in the feed and you can watch it uninterrupted without any ads. The entity that is engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring is also speaking to a demonic entity, and you are subject to surveillance online. I'm subject to surveillance just like you are subject to surveillance, but the entity that's engaging in surveillance has targeted me with the intent. They thought that they were going to murder me and steal everything that they know belongs to me. And they also intended, as Satan wants to, destroy the testimony of a Christ-believing disciple like myself, somebody who loves the Lord Jesus Christ, who is my Lord and Savior. And Satan hates that, and so do his demons. Okay, so this is the purpose of criminal defamation. This is the entity that, while engaging in the same system of surveillance, sought to do so. And while I'm subject to surveillance just like you, that's speaking to you. You are threatened by the same system. So if you think it's funny, there's something wrong with you, first of all. But if you think that it's entertaining, you need to understand what I am subject to is for purposes of everyone learning what we are all subject to and what could be your future at any moment. Okay, so it's the Lord's will that none of you be ignorant. Even those who have not yet come to Christ, who will be coming to Christ, he knows who you are, who will submit yourself and follow him as your Lord and Savior. He knows who you are. He knows those who will never come to faith in Christ Jesus. He knows who you are as well. He knows those of you who are committed to darkness and have decided, even through your delusion, thinking that you're going to die and come back as a cat, that you have committed yourself to was an inevitable fate in eternal darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. I'm talking about hell. I'm talking about destruction. I'm talking about separation from God. I'm talking about judgment in the fiery pit of hell. Okay, he knows who all of us are. He knows what's going to happen. There's nothing that the Lord God is learning. Okay, he's outside of time, but he is revealing things, and he's giving warnings, and he's giving indicators regarding what you can reasonably expect, especially if you know Scripture, if you know what the Bible says, and you know how this ends for those who know Christ. All right. So we are in a time where we have already been subject to surveillance, and you need to understand that this surveillance system is satanic, and it's also underway on the internet. So while I'm inside of the apartment and I'm asleep and I'm being gang stalked in the physical, I'm also subject to surveillance, which is speaking to harassing means of a pattern of conduct while I'm online. So while I am online, I'm listening to content. I'm essentially listening to like I listen to content like The Rain or like brown noise, pink noise, if you ever heard of that, for what is peaceful sleeping. It's just an enjoyment to listening to content. And it also blocks out noise. And this is when I'm speaking to, when I'm listening to, I can't even hear the television. I can't hear the entity that's gang stalking. And this is how when I'm giving context about what the demon Tracy Banks and what the demons at Woodside are doing, their audible activity is amplified. That's demonic, and it pierces through the content that I'm listening to on my headphones. That is supernatural. That's the entity that goes so far and wants you to experience them harassing you and wants you to experience. And why do they want you to experience it? That's psychological torture. Okay, that's the purpose of them wanting to experience that. And you experience when you see engineered light. That's the purpose of psychological torture, for you to experience it and react to it as a human being, a fragile human being, a complex human being. And running these sorts of experiments on human beings can have a plethora of outcomes. Okay, I am an outcome that the entity did not gamble for. Okay, I am somebody that has been subject to this, that by permission of Christ Jesus, my Lord and Savior, only permitted it so that I can testify to it, so that you will know what you are surrounded by. And you need to know how this operation, how this system works. And you need to not be confused at all. It is the work of Satan. Okay, and this is speaking to the specific environment that's around you. This is informing you about what surrounds you, who surrounds you as well. Okay, but nonetheless, while I am listening to content and I am on the internet listening to that content, the ad is, and I'm listening to it on the feed version. So there's no ads that are interfering when you're watching on via the feed, which you can do if you're familiar with YouTube. I'm not really on Facebook or any other. I'm not on these. And I'm not even on for purposes of enjoyment. I'm only on YouTube because the Lord told me to publish what it is that He told me to podcast. He told me to publish, and that's what I'm doing. I don't have any personal interest in being on social media. So nonetheless, I do use YouTube. And if you're familiar with it, if you open up the feed, you can view videos and it's not interrupted with ads. There's no ads that pop up, and the entity uses ads. It's a means of controlling the way in which the internet operates, because ordinarily there are no ads that interfere with the feed version of the videos. If you click onto the video and watch it, then you're subject to ads, and that's if you haven't paid for a service where ads are interfering the content that you're viewing. But nonetheless, you're still, so even if you pay for services where you don't have to, like premium, YouTube premium, and you're not subject to ads, you are still being kept under surveillance online. Everything that you're looking at, if you think that nobody knows, for example, if you're watching pornography and you've got all this hardware where your history is being wiped out and your wife will never know, Your kids won't find it out. Your kids that get on social media every day on the same computer or same device, and no one is ever able to know that you like to watch a certain type of pornographic content or whatever. First of all, Christ Jesus knows. But second of all, you are under surveillance. Everything that's online is public information amongst an entity that is keeping us all under surveillance. So it's not true with regard to your thinking that no one knows what you're looking at online. That's not true. Okay, you are being kept under surveillance, whether you have Norton or McAfee or some sort of VPN. These are creating what is a level of comfort in your mind with regard to the fact that somehow it's private to you and those of your household, if you're sharing those of your household. In other words, some sort of privacy online, and that's not the case. All right. And not only that, these social media platforms are engaged in and creating a system whereby they are also profiting while they're engaged in what is very much surveillance. And this social media phenomenon, I'll even go and let you know about this social media phenomenon where we are getting on and volunteering information about ourselves, where our constitutional rights are already being violated, and the average person is not very privy to the constitutional rights that you maintain. And while you are volunteering information about yourself, about where you are and what you're eating at this time and where you're going and what are your coordinates and who you're going with and how you feel while you're going there, and where you're going en route in real time, all of this information, it's just adding to the system of surveillance that we're subject to while you are being studied. Okay, this is to inform. This is not about fear. It's just not, there's no longer any place for ignorance. You're not capable of maintaining ignorance in it, not reasonably. Okay, so it's no longer the Lord's purpose for you to be ignorant about. This is not to spread fear. Okay, but this is the reality, and we have been cooperating with this surveillance system, with this social media phenomenon. Very much putting your babies on the internet, putting all your business on the internet, and whether you like to live your life on a stage, this is as close as you could get to having some form of celebrity. You need to understand that you are aiding in what is a system of surveillance. You're playing right into that. And there's a purpose for it with regard to knowing you as a person, studying you as a person, which is, again, spiritual. All right. And it is also pursuant to what is conditioning you. And you have a lot of demons that have a lot of friends and have a lot of social media presence who are conditioning your mindset and how you think and how you live. They are demons that present themselves one way, and they're fully in service of Satan while they are esteeming themselves as being somebody that you may even idolize. You may even follow them. These terms are very, very significant with regard to how they're referred to online. They're not your actual quote unquote friends, people that you don't know and you're associating with each other. But this is all relevant to what's spiritually going on. And it is a system of surveillance nonetheless. And so you have people that are ignorant about that. I'm not saying everybody online knows. Most of you do not know. But the people that stay there to gang stalking, yes, you have people that know. This is a system of surveillance, and they're gang stalking me with the intent to try to murder and kidnap me, and they thought that they were going to steal my property in doing so. All right, so you have the people of the state that are very much aware and are a part of this system of surveillance, and it is un-American, it's unconstitutional, it's speaking to public corruption, and it is speaking to the whole illusion of the constitutional framework that we are quote-unquote living by in the United States. But it's also speaking to, again, the entity that is monitoring online. And while I am listening to content on headphones and I'm viewing a video, listening to it through the feed where there is no ads that interfere with that mode of viewing content online, the entity is targeting me through the ability to use an ad as I'm watching a video in the feed, and the ad pops up at the moment that I begin I'm in a subconscious state. I'm like halfway asleep and asleep at the same time. If you know about that in between mode, I'm technically asleep. And the moment that I begin a dream, I start going into a dream state. Immediately an ad comes on. And while I'm watching a video, well, I'm not watching it because I'm sleeping. I'm listening to content on YouTube in the feed mode where ads do not occur. And an ad is occurring to interrupt the content that I am listening to, and it occurs with simultaneity to my entering into a dream state. This immediately wakes me up because the ad creates a change in volume, it creates a change in activity. It's with regard to what is monitoring. Understand that this is accomplishing the spiritual monitoring purposes is occurring through the use of electronic devices, of communication devices, and an ad is occurring with simultaneity to my entering into a dream state while I'm being monitored and gang stalked by the demons outside, who you heard as I document them. Because as I open my eyes and I'm immediately woken up out of that sleep state, this is when the engineer light sweeps across Tracy Banks' ceiling and in her living room. This is the entity that's also with regard to what it is that I'm doing, which is prosecuting. These are all sex offenders who are hostile. The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department is hostile because I documented one of their demons gang stalking under the 12:53 p.m. fake sun, where it's over the same apartment in the same manner. And this video that I captured at 10 o'clock in the morning, the same fake sun that was still here after 6 p.m. yesterday on the same day. And you're looking at it over me at 10 o'clock in the morning, and you are aware of the fact and not forgetting that it was still here after 6 p.m. yesterday. This is where the entity is, because I'm showing all their faces and their license plates and their employers and the names of the businesses while they're stalking and monitoring me in a bathroom as I point to the toilet and I point to the room where amplified audible activity is happening, and you are aware of the apartment where it's happening, where engineer light fills the apartment and where the fake sun remains over the apartment all day long. These are sex offenders who are hostile and are also monitoring with regard to wanting to engage in that iteration of that pattern of conduct, because of it's also relevant because they're demons, they're gang stalking me. The entity is seeking to murder and kidnap and psychologically target me until the day that they can take my life. This is what the entity planned, which is what this is what the demons planned. And they are doing so also with regard to the immediate purposes, because I publish and I will continue to publish, and I'm going to publish another one because you need to see the up close zoomed in faces of sex offenders who are, again, on one hand holding hands of children, in custody of children, want to appear upright and normal, just doing their job, just cleaning the pool, just driving through the parking lot, picking somebody up. I'm just sitting, taking a break, eating my lunch break in the shade, even though there's multiple shadows appearing in the shade as I document that. The sex offenders that are interested in what's going on in a bathroom, they are the demon possessed that know exactly what I'm doing, and they are stalking in the path while the supernatural is filling the defendant Tracy Banks' apartment. They're doing so because I documented them being gang stalkers in bathrooms. Okay, and they're also doing so pursuant to the system that the city of Ontario is clearly proving on an ongoing, continuous basis that it's engaging in, and that the state of California, because the city of Ontario is acting in conformity to what the state of California has already proven it is engaging in. And the state of California proved it, and I told you beforehand what the state of California was doing before I had the body of evidence that is the P.O.C. All right, so I told you, I tell you in real time, and now I'm telling you what I told you before. Okay, that's how you write any, by the way, how you create any sort of paper with a thesis statement. And I gave my thesis at the outset. I told you what I'm going to show you. I showed you, and now I'm telling you what I said I was going to tell you about. Show you what I told you I was going to show you. And it is for your benefit, for your knowledge, for your information. All right, so I want to be clear. Monitoring is very much underway on the venue of the internet. Okay, and it is occurring. This is just one example, the use of ads. And the entity goes to the extent to use an ad while I'm in the feed, where ads do not interrupt the videos that you're watching on YouTube. But they can, though. They can, but that's an extraordinary circumstance. That's an extraordinary circumstance pursuant to the P.O.C. also. It's not separate or distinct. It's not some random anomaly. It's a happening amongst engineer light that's immediately occurring when I open my eyes. And then I step outside, and what's over my head? The fake sun that you know was still here, because San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department was gang stalking me under it. At the time that's still yet to come, it's 12:04 p.m. Still, the fake sun is sitting at the same location at 12:53 p.m. yesterday afternoon, and on the same day, and the same time of year, even down to the same day, I'm documenting this pattern of conduct in an entirely different region, where San Bernardino County would not be under the sun if they weren't gang stalking in the specific environment. That defies nature. That is, it is very obvious. So I am being monitored both online, and you need to know that you are as well. When your eyes are open, when your eyes are closed. When your mouth is open, when your mouth is closed. When you are breathing in and breathing out. You need to understand the spiritual aspect. These are demons that are using people. People that have an uncanny ability to mirror what you're doing with regard to what is going on online, and then suddenly somebody's running by, and you only know that because they're running by and it's so loud as though they're creating holes in the concrete, or their shadow is above their head, in other words, and it's moving across an apartment building while they're under the fake sun where their shadow would be on the ground. In other words, there's no way that I should have proof of your pacing under the fake sun, but for your stalking with light activity. This is how the entity is surrounded with the evidence that's going to put them in mental asylums. While the demons, who are, like I stated, very much a reason, very quite often, more often than not, what is being diagnosed in the physical with regard to the medical profession that disregards the existence of God. This is speaking to disregarding the existence of the entire spiritual realm, which is keeping you ignorant about your enemy, Satan, who is a spirit, and demonic spirits who are operating over people. And it is very much, very often, quite often, the core basis of mental illness, as demonic spirits use people who make decisions and engage in behaviors, as you are witnessing gang stalkers exhibit. Okay, so I wanted to include this in. This is prefacing the P.O.C., what I was subject to as I opened my eyes. And this is a bunch of angry sex offenders. And a sex offender that's both angry because they're being identified as a sex offender, that is, okay, the material for diagnosis for mental illness. And all those gang stalkers who are in this country, like RGS employees, many of whom cannot speak English or disdain the English language, but they also want to be in this country. They also want to make money in this country. They also claim that they're going to respect the Constitution. They're also here by the permission of the government. That is both gang stalking with them, and then on the other hand, with regard to what your knowledge is, causing them and requiring them to respect the Constitution and to support and advocate the Constitution while they're in this country engaging in the so-called American dream. All right, this is the duplicitous entity that is gang stalking at the same time, and they will be deported. Okay, the government itself is going to be punished. It's going to be dealt with. But the immigrants that are gang stalking, they're out of this country. You're not. There's no negotiation with terrorists, and these terrorists are violent sex offenders who act with blatant disregard. They don't even shape up when they're being exposed. What I'm documenting on video, what you're listening to, is the sex offenders. They engage in more violence, like that's going to help them remain in this country, and it's not. This is the exact same evidence that's getting them permanently deported. No kids, no military status, no business creation, no job creation, no years in this country is going to keep you. You are out. Federal Group Stalking Monitoring, which is domestic terrorism, is the basis of revocation of any naturalization status, any visa granted, any means whereby you are not from this country and you were granted the ability to live in this country. You are out of this country. You're out. And the impossible light, the monitoring conduct that I'm subject to by the people of the state and the government who provided evidence against, again, the gang stalkers who are RGS. They're not gang stalking by themselves, but they are gang stalking nonetheless. And I'm speaking to every class of gang stalkers. And those that are gang stalking immigrants, you're going to be deported, and that's what you're looking forward to. It's currently 12:08 p.m. So I wanted to give this context regarding what it is that I documented, why I got up and captured video. And this is, again, the mental illness of those who are entirely inferior. These are demons, and you can have thousands of. You've seen millions of demons come against me. They are no competition, no formidable adversary with regard to Christ Jesus and the superiority that is the Holy Spirit. There is no competition. Okay, so the entity is engaging in what is delusion. Like you're engaging in this pattern of conduct, and first of all, they're playing some sort of game with their own lives. You're going to prison. If you find that funny, that's why you're going to be treated for your mental health condition in the cell that you're going to be sitting in. That's why you're losing custody of your kids. A cackling demon who's going to prison, and they find that funny. And understand, when they're laughing, this is a demon. There's nothing funny. They know they're being documented. They are being surrounded with the evidence. You know that I'm not making up anything. Everything that I've stated with regard to impossible light, there's a whole body of evidence that you can look at on the venue of the internet with reference to directed light, stalking with light, impossible light activity. Nobody is imagining. The only entity that's imagining things are the demons that are imagining that they look like anything other than demons, anything other than stalkers, anything other than psychopaths. Both why I get the engineered light, it's pointing back, reflecting directly on the gang stalkers. And both while I get this fake sun that sits here all day long, it's pointing directly back at the gang stalkers. And that informs you wherever you are in this country and in the world, because it's clearly Satan is not just present with regard to a spiritual force in the United States. It's not some sort of jurisdiction or anything. But this is speaking to demonic activity, which whatever country, wherever you are, can inform you about being aware of the environment, which is a direct reference to the spiritual realm, where you're looking at the fake sun and the engineered light that's covering everything, that's creating an illusion, and it's an unpersuasive one when you just use your common sense. Well, the sun that's here, that's supposed to be, based on the definition, it's constantly moving, and it's still over the same apartment building, and it's also exclusive. It remains over me as I move from apartment number 51, which is the same pattern of kind of when I'm on the 10 freeway, on the 60 freeway, on the 101 freeway, and an entirely different region, by the way. The same manner of what is stalking under a fake sun, which is demonic, and it's speaking to demons surrounding who are stalking by definition. It's very highly unintelligent, but it's creating an illusion regarding the environment that you're looking at. So you're making a distinction between the physical and the spiritual realm, which you are able literally to see. The spiritual realm is very real. Okay, so it's currently 12:11 p.m. I just wanted to speak to that. This is what the entity is doing in real time. I'm subject to monitoring on the video of the internet, which you need to be aware of. You are as well. Okay, and the entity is gang stalking physically, while I am then getting up and documenting the sex offenders who will be getting, again, specific credit regarding the sexual violence that they practice as corrupt businesses. Both the pool cleaner, this is somebody that's here systematically engaged in federal group stalking monitoring, appears to be a Caucasian male. The landscaping, I've documented, you have repeated systematic means of engaging in federal group stalking monitoring, just like Jose and Sons at Alvarado Gardens, just like Universal Waste Systems at Alvarado Gardens, just like what is Speaker Companies by way of employment gang stalking me. And doing so both as a resident and the community manager that worked at the property. And it is a uniform body of rules that the demon possessed are going to be prosecuted by. And then you're looking at what is the government that's gang stalking. That's what you have in common amongst the city of LA and the Los Angeles Police Department, the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, and San Bernardino County, the Ontario Police Department, which is just one police department in San Bernardino County. You have the entity that is gang stalking in the same means. So it's like demon possession, a different body, same demonic spirit, which is creating what is the supernatural as I capture it. This is how you have a uniform behavioral pattern. That is supernatural as I capture that evidence for you to understand what is indeed a criminal means of targeting someone. The demonic spirits are using their bodies while they engage in the identical behavioral patterns. And what ties them all together, the specific environment, which defies nature. It's not accident. It's not coincidental. It's not possible that this could be anything other than what is exactly what I've told you. And I've proven it to you. The entity is engaging in this in the same exact manner with regard to the region that I'm in, San Bernardino County versus LA County. The entity that is engaging in what is gang stalking in the manners that I've shown you. The entity is gang stalking through a population. The public entity is gang stalking through a population. The public entity is practicing the satanic system. This is pointing, what is very disturbing is that government, our local government, the county, the state, is in service to Satan, is doing so while engaging in and facilitating and failing in protecting. You're not protecting it. I fully exposed it and I'm going to prosecute you by it. And it's also to inform the rest of you about what's going on in this country. And this is speaking to what is very real demon possession. While you have a population that's acting on behalf of Satan, multiple bodies, the same demonic entity that's targeting me, that is stalking. So I'm literally going to prosecute Satan that's using a bunch of bodies to engage in what is gang stalking as you get the people of the state engaging in that satanic targeting system. All right, it is currently 12:14 p.m. on Tuesday, March 25th, 2025. The entity is engaging in what is the ongoing same tactics of psychological torture with engineered light, while I am then publishing the videos, publishing everything on the video of the internet, where you need to know that you are subject to surveillance as well, subject to monitoring. Monitoring is surveillance. Gang stalking is surveillance with a criminal purpose to kill, kidnap, defame, etc. But we are all kept subject to the surveillance system, and you are aware of it through the environment that defies nature. because while it's remaining over my head all day long at the same particular building at the apartment complex, that is not the same light source that you would see over you in whatever state that you're in. And this is prosecuting. You need to know about the state of California. It's telling you, while I'm documenting and I'm subject to it, it's telling you about the entire state of California, because the demons were so unintelligent and so ill-equipped. They kept the whole exclusive sun, and you're going to prosecute them based on that malice. The so-called sun, it's remaining over me. So that's speaking to what's over everybody else, everywhere else. Okay, because we're not all having the same experience, looking up in the sky from the same exact angle, remaining over us everywhere that you are, whether you stay still all day long or whether you're traveling. Yeah, that's the P.O.C, and you're able to recognize it through the environment. It is, again, 12:15 p.m. This is P.O.C. Okay, this is documentation of the identical engagement of what is stalking with light that occurred inside of the same defendant's apartment at the same defendant's apartment complex, which is where the people of the state are gang stalking, as is evident and is obvious, with also recognizing where a population of demons are engaging in what is stalking together as a community, and which is the greater context as a city, and which is what the state of California is practicing as a whole state. And so, like I documented this morning, the engineer light that you could clearly see on Tracy Banks' ceiling at the front door, and then across the ceiling and on the east wall, that is what is occurring when I'm referencing dynamic engineer light, that at 5:40 p.m., just like it was this morning, when the demons knew the moment that I woke up, when I'm subject to monitoring on my device that is in operation of the internet, and then was simultaneous to my waking up and opening my eyes, this engineer light sweeps across the ceiling and the wall inside, which is demonic. You've seen it across Tracy Banks's kitchen cabinets, going in an opposite direction, stretching through the depths of her living room, and then sweeping across her cabinets. That was very demonic. This is what the entity is. It's speaking to the mentally ill who are demon possessed and gang stalking. That literally the light activity points to their brains, to the way that their minds are sick and demented, and it's also letting you know that they're demon possessed. These are demons, and that they're stalking. It's letting you know about everything that they're engaging in, the state of the environment, and also with regard to prosecution, that they're engaged in criminal conduct. So nonetheless, at 5:40 p.m., the defendant that is gang stalking in violation of the Violence Against Women Act, and also gang stalking with regard to engaging in what is domestic terrorism, his license plate is 9CZC059. This is one of the occupants who you can, you see pacing with minor children, which is the criminal conduct that the state of California is sharing with this. Again, this is a pedophile. This is a sex offender. This is somebody that's engaged in monitoring my genitalia, and you will see him pacing under the fake sun that is over the same exact location it was at 10 in the morning in the video, when he and his demon-possessed sibling were pacing in the same manner into the apartment, and in the same exact position under the fake sun. He is in custody of one of the same adult occupant in operation of the vehicle, crossing path in the same parking lot. You will see the fake sun over the same exact location, and they are pacing out of the apartment and doing so with children. This is understanding the prosecution for stalking by the residents who are gang stalking at the venue. This is a prosecution for the criminal contribution to delinquency of minors. This is what the state of California is being prosecuted for, while contributing to public corruption, while it is gang stalking via the population that is mentally ill, and as mentally ill as government officials who are engaging in this pattern of conduct, gang stalking as a department, as a corrupt government, such as Paul Leon, such as Mike Lorenz, such as Michael Gherkin, such as Shannon Dykes, such as Alan D. WAPNER, where I'm speaking to the gang stalking by the airport. I'm speaking to the gang stalking by the police department. I'm speaking to the gang stalking by the Sheriff's Department in San Bernardino County. I'm speaking to the gang stalking by the Ontario International Airport. I already referenced that, but speaking to the gang stalking by the Ontario Fire Department. This is the entity that is engaging in this pattern of conduct, and the entity that is engaging in what is a behavioral pattern that you cannot accidentally engage in. You don't ignorantly engage in the pattern of conduct. That's why you have the supernatural happening. And this is what's happening at 5:40 p.m. as I'm documenting this demon that resides in Unit 41 that is pacing. I want to be clear, pacing is the outward demonstration of mental illness that is born of demon possession. They're doing so with what is 2 minor children, the same very heavily documented gang stalkers who are under the age of majority. They've been made gang stalkers, in other words. They've been made felons. They've been made sex offenders. But they've been made domestic terrorists by their parents who are abusing them as a matter of federal law. That's exactly how they're going to be treated. It's exactly how they're going to be prosecuted. While the parents know that they are being documented, the demons that engage in the psychopathic and passive-aggressive conduct of stalking someone that they don't know, not talking to them, not addressing them, and targeting them altogether, are doing so with minor children and teaching them to engage in that very demented manner of targeting another person for no legitimate reason. Not that you should teach your kids to target anyone for any reason, but you are looking at what are demons who are pacing with children in the exact same way that they were pacing with each other under the fake sun at 10 o'clock in the morning. And again, this third party who is gang stalking with engineer light, dragging behind the vehicle, as I captured on video, and you can see it along the brick wall. That is again license plate 9CZC059, is engaging in what is criminal obstruction of justice. While I document such sex offenders, such mentally ill psychopaths, such sex offenders in custody of children, such gang stalkers who are going to be placed in mental asylums, as I document, the entity is engaging in that pattern of conduct. These are the same sex offenders that engaged in it this morning, because you can see the up close images of who are predators, who are stalkers, who are criminals, who are sex offenders by virtue of what is their secret and sexually perverted way of life while they're gang stalking by residents. As I show you up close images of them and give you things such as their license plates, and you know their address, and where the federal government knows exactly where they are and they're going to mental asylums. The engineer light is appearing at 5:40 p.m. And again, right now, while I'm referencing it 2 additional times at 5:48 p.m. and 5:49 p.m. in real time while I'm documenting through the midst of this podcast. Him, his baby's mother, his grandfather that works for AVANATH Capital Management, who you saw pacing, not walking, and also not working. They're not engaging in any constitutionally protected. This is the malice that is engaged in what is gang stalking, and they're doing under that which was present over the same exact location, the fake sun, as you're comparing it at 10 o'clock in the morning and what I'm capturing at 4:30 in the afternoon. This is where the fake sun is still present, which is what you know, because that's how I captured the video yesterday at 6:18 p.m., where that fake sun is still in perfect alignment with me. And you know that sunlight is never shooting horizontally through things like peepholes. It's never shooting horizontally, creating what is your shadow and the shadow of your furniture and your lamp, your floor lamps like Tracy Banks that appears on the ceiling. None of that is sunlight either. And this is a light that is stationary, cycling all day long in the defendant's apartments. And they also are engaging in what is knowledge about that while they practice witchcraft, while they are engaging in sexually focused ways of targeting me. This same sex offender who's in custody of minor children is that which is a threat sexually and actually a threat to children with regard to physically harming them, while engaging in what is exacting violence against me, because I'm documenting him as a sex offender, in fact, as a mentally ill person who was a threat to the public, in fact, and engaging in more violence while the demonic environment surrounds me at the same time. He is going, his baby mama is going, his baby mother's father, the AVANATH employee of Unit 41, who you saw pacing in the same manner. You've seen this demon-possessed family pacing while walking through engineer light that's shooting into this same defendant's apartment while their shadows appear on the inside. That is speaking to, again, the evidence of what is demon possession and real-time knowledge. And because the demon-possessed sex offenders, such as the Latino male that is operating vehicle license 9CZC059, who was engaging in gang stalking in custody with children, via children, on behalf of the gang stalking government, the city of Ontario, who have sex offenders at the heads of these corrupt departments, like Michael Gherkin, Alan D. Wapner, Paul Leon, Mike Lorenz, and the entity like Shannon Dykes over the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. These are sex offenders. These are demons. And the entity is engaging in what is this pattern of conduct in real time. And so because I am documenting sexual violence and criminal stalking of a woman like myself, and because this demon-possessed sex offender is hostile to it, because this demon-possessed person is engaged in federal stalking, the sex offender decides to engage in more violence. That is speaking to the fact that the evidence supports that this sex offender not be released from the mental asylum, that he and his baby mother and his baby mother's father, and I believe there's 2 women and 2 men, and then there's the granddad that works for AVANATH. So you have what are 5 adults that are gang stalking in custody of 2 minor children, and they engage in and decide to inflict more harm, psychologically torture further, engage in more harassment and terrorism, because they know that they're being documented. And it's criminal activity committed by the government as well. And this is why sex offenders such as Shannon Dykes over the gang stalking San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, repeated kidnappers, over the gang stalking Ontario Fire Department, where Michael Gherkin, who is a sex offender, and then he goes home to his family. Okay? And I want to be clear, his family is likely a bunch of demons as well. I don't have to know them personally. The entity is gang stalking, and they're a demon-possessed population, and the entire department is corrupt and demon-infected. That's why you can have any random fire department personnel engaging the P.O.C., like you already saw under the fake sun at 12:41 in the afternoon, in the same position where it was this morning on video at 10 o'clock in the morning, where it is in the same position at 2:45 in the afternoon, where it is right now at 5:52 in the evening. You saw this on video at 6:18 yesterday, which was March 25th. Excuse me, March 24th. Today's the 25th. March 24th, 2025. That's how you know what is wrong with Michael Gherkin, besides his mental illness that has never been openly diagnosed. And while you are a public official, while you are in any position of authority and you're engaging in criminal conduct, that's a threat to the public, and that is literally antithetical to what your purpose is in that position of government, your mental illness will be publicly diagnosed. The fact that you are a sex offender will be public knowledge, and you will be removed from office while I'm documenting the gang stalking population who you rely on to keep me under surveillance. And you are making money while engaging in domestic terrorism, not actually putting out fires. Not actually interested in what is lawfully maintaining facilities where people who violate the law, you kidnap people that don't commit any crimes while you keep them under surveillance. And you gang stalk them with the prisoners as well. They're all a bunch of demons engaging in psychological torture in the jails in San Bernardino County. You already know what's going on with the Ontario Police Department. They're a bunch of gang stalking demons. And the sex offender, Mike Lorenz, just like the sex offender that is driving in vehicle license plate 9CZC059, they are of the same condition. And that's why you have the Ontario Police Department engaging in the behavioral pattern, engaging in the P.O.C., which you cannot ignorantly do. It's impossible for me to create what is a whole nomenclature, a whole system whereby I am just alleging that I'm being harassed and gang stalked, and I don't have any ability to maintain a body of evidence that is consistent, seamlessly consistent. It's impossible for me to have this level of consistency. It's impossible for me to make up anything that I have documented and published. It's impossible for them to act in conformity to that which I would have just been making up and hallucinating about. The pattern of conduct that's exhibited by the departments is speaking to the head of that corrupt department that is demon infected, and they're violent sex offenders like this demon that is in operation of the vehicle, where you see Engineer Light dragging behind that car, and then those demons that are chuckling while they engage in what is sexual violence, and chuckling and cackling while they engage in psychological torture, and they like stalking women while he's impregnating a baby mama who gives birth to children, and they're both gang stalking sex offenders. It's not different with regard to the condition of those that are at the heads of the department. I am not being hyperbolic and just throwing around names that I don't have any evidence to support. I want to be clear. The entities engaging in what is stalking with Engineer Light and AVANATH Capital Management is going to compensate. You're going to drain their pockets, squeeze them dry. Not because I'm looking for some lottery. I didn't ask anybody to gang stalk me. You're going to drain their pockets because the state of California, the people of any state government shall understand that you will not profit from gang stalking, from domestic terrorism in the United States, contrary to what the government is doing in this country right now. You're not going to profit from it. And anything that you have profited, which is literally running your business, you're going to turn all of those profits over. And it's also going to be a matter of public information, what you do and what you profit from, because you're not ignorantly gang stalking as a business in the state of California. This is the implosion of this public corruption. You're not only draining the pockets, you're also going to be liable for the damages that I'm subject to while I'm being gang stalked in an apartment as a matter of what is a legal conclusion. The Engineered Light, speaking to what is impossible to under any circumstances be anything other than what I have shown you, which is the P.O.C. Why else is this inexplicable light? There's the issue of the fact that it's inexplicable. You get that. And then you're talking about, okay, but why? And I've told you exactly why. And you have property management companies like speaker companies, And AVANATH Capital Management, they're going to compensate you for that. Okay. The entity is engaging in the P.O.C. with regard to gang stalking, surveillance in your home. And I don't work for any political campaign. I'm not associated with, these are the type of things that they were doing to Martin Luther King. The FBI, keeping them under surveillance. These are high profile people. I'm an American citizen, and I should not be something that the entity is clearly interested in and obsessed with. And the reason for you, what you should be thinking is why. First of all, you are under surveillance as well. You are deducing a lot and learning a lot from the experience as I'm sharing and openly exposing Satan, and I'm exposing the criminal activity that the demon-possessed practice. And it's directly pointing at every corrupt department that has already engaged in the pattern of conduct, exposing all of its own secrets. I already told you what they're doing. Then you watch them engage in the P.O.C. and you also understand what logic requires. You are not capable of accidentally, ignorantly, or coincidentally engaging in the pattern of conduct. And it is the same with regard to my publishing evidence about a sex offender who was pacing with children at 4:30 in the afternoon when the fake son is in the same exact position it was over the same building at 10 o'clock in the morning on video, when he was so enthusiastically pacing and outwardly demonstrating the fact that he needs mental help. He and his brother, the whole family, all of those adults in Unit 41 at 408 West G Street in Ontario, California, at Woodside Senior Apartments, the mental health patients in Unit 41 are all going to mental asylums, and they continuously engage in this method of what is obstruction of justice, interfering with an ongoing federal case that they are anticipating against them while they're engaged in federal stalking on the venue of the internet, and they're doing so with regard to and in concert with the corrupt government. The heads of each corrupt department in Ontario and in San Bernardino County being identified thereby as well. All right. And they are engaging in this pattern of conduct, seeking to obstruct justice and psychologically harm somebody. That is under no circumstances slowing down. I'm not going to slow down. I'm going to point directly. Where does this criminal engagement point back to? And what does this tell you while they engage in it? And you already know that I don't make up anything. I don't have to I don't have time to be making up anything. I don't know these people. The only reason why they are now a part of my vocabulary regularly is because they first sought to target me. And that's where they never should have done that. They never should have done that. So while you seek to target me and you thought that you were going to kill me and kill my reputation and take all my property and help this high school graduate trying to falsely depict me and using words she can't even spell or define, while people in corrupt courts speak for her, while they're all engaged in criminal defamation together, you're going to find yourself out of a job, out of a career. You're done with law enforcement. You're out of politics. And you are done with regard to remaining free outside of a mental asylum, which is where you belong when you're stalking me with impossible light activity, because you're hostile, because they know that you're gang stalking me, monitoring my genitalia, and then walking outside with your kids pacing around like a demon in an environment where they will look at the picture of you gang stalking at 10 o'clock in the morning under the fake sun, and they will look at the picture of you gang stalking in the same exact manner under the fake sun with those under the age of majority, and that fake sun is over the same exact position. They are going to know that you're a demon. They know that you're gang stalking with everybody else. All of your co-defendants, all of you baboons are going to mental asylums and federal prison. I don't care if you like how I described you. You're a sex offender. Your opinion is irrelevant. If you don't want to be described as a sex offender, then stop it. But it's too late for that. You're going to federal prison and mental asylums in units 33 through 64. The entity continuously targeting with engineer light while I'm in the midst of documenting, while creating this podcast, in other words, that is speaking to the impunity of sex offenders. That is somebody that is so determined to stalk you, that no act that you, or no rights that you seek to enforce in court is going to stop that particular sex offender. That's essentially what the entity is doing. I'm going to still stalk you. Understand, publishing the evidence on the internet, documentation in and of itself. You don't have to do a lot for the state to understand that they better stop. Because the state disregards that. It is an impermissible threat. It is that which the federal government is duly taking note of. You will be punished for that. You will be prosecuted for that. Look it up. It's not a game. Look what prosecution means. You're going to federal prison and mental asylums for stalking with impossible light activity. They know exactly who you are. And those in units 33 through 64, they're all going to federal prison and mental asylums. While I am speaking to that which I have already supported with evidence, hard evidence that the world can witness regarding what is no figment of anyone's imagination, as you can all look at what is engineered light that you've also seen, not just at Woodside Senior Apartments inside of this defendant Tracy Banks' apartment. And that is relevant with regard to what it is that I'm documenting and the ongoing acts of harassment and terrorism. It is terrorizing and is psychologically harmful when you are being stalked with light. That is inexplicably occurring. especially while you then enforce your rights, and it occurs even more so. That's the pattern of conduct by psychopaths, by the way, who are frustrated and are seething, hostile to you enforcing your right to not have your genitalia be public information amongst them. These are the sickos that are going to prison and in mental asylums, and it includes the employees of AVANATH. It includes RGS, who was gang stalking under this same fake son with these same sex offenders. They are sex offenders together. Okay, they're just non-English speaking sex offenders. Many of them are engaged in what is gang stalking while they've been granted the privilege to be in this country or wherever those facts apply. Understand, these are different classes of what is the same exact federal offense. The elements of monitoring, demonic activity, criminal pattern of conduct, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. 6:02 p.m. The entity is keeping the fake son, which you already know. At 6:18, you can reference the video that was captured on March 24, 2025, because that's speaking to what the entity is presenting as the natural environment. And if that's the natural environment, then that would be the same case on the next day on March 25th, 2025. Under no circumstances is this the natural environment at all, which is understanding the malice of the whole community that's gang stalking in a demonic environment. And they are outwardly demonstrating what is not a secret to you. It's not invisible to you anymore. These are the demon possessed who know exactly who they're targeting. And they know exactly what I am doing while they're targeting me, which is also established through that environment that defies nature. And you are getting past the mask. Their quote unquote normal behavior defies nature. There is nothing normal about what they're doing. You're giving context when you look at the image of what's happening at 10 o'clock and Unit 41 is walking under the fake sun, and at 4:30 p.m. and Unit 41 is walking under that same fake sun in the same position. There's nothing normal about what they're doing. It's not walking. It's not pedestrians. It's not aerobics. These are demons who are pacing, and they are pacing where they're stalking. And their inspiration for pacing is me, knowing what I'm doing while I'm between these four walls on the inside of the apartment. And their knowledge is also deduced from the engineered light, from the fake sun, from the amplification of all noise, which is psychological torture tactics that gang stalkers like AVANATH Capital Management are also going to be prosecuted for. It is currently 6:04 p.m. This is P.O.C. Again, I want you to hear the license plate of this third party who is targeting me with regard to all the rest of the co-defendants, but this is who you will see a plethora of screenshots showing what is stalking in violation of the Violence Against Women Act. It's also going to be prosecuted, which all of the co-defendants, the state of California, is gang stalking with minor children, just like is exhibited with regard to Unit 41, who is gang stalking with minor children while they are pacing. Let me give you the precise time. It is at 4:29 p.m. They're pacing, and the fake son is in the same exact position over Unit 41, pacing with his brother, walking, or cousin, whatever they are, two younger adult men. They look like they're probably in their late 20s to mid to late 30s, and pacing, not walking. The fake son above their head gives you context about what you're looking at, and they're demons, and they're stalking me. They are stalking me, and you're stalking by residence, the highest level of malice, which is a threat to your life posed by the demon possessed, who derive pleasure out of thinking that they can conspicuously gang stalk you, conspicuously stalk you, target, psychologically torture you, and no one is ever going to hear your cry. And they derive pleasure out of that. And that is going to be the material to diagnose severe mental illness that's going on rampant. There is an actual mental health crisis in California, and it is borne by what are the demon-possessed who are gang stalking. All right, it is again the license plate of this third party who is going to be prosecuted for psychological torture upon being documented, as though you're going to interfere with the federal case that nonetheless remains. And this is the entity that is gang stalking with license plate 9CZC059. And you can look at the Google Drive on the P.O.C. website. The website is thisisthepoc.wordpress.com. You can go under the documentation tab, select look. And then when you select look, you're going to, all of the documentation against the state of California to prosecute it is ordered and organized by year. So you would go under 2025, then you will go into the current month of March. You will go to the current date, because I keep an ongoing running tab of documentation because I remain subject to this pattern of conduct. And you will see the screenshots that were captured 4:43 p.m. and you have what is the entity that's filling this apartment? They sit around ruminating, angry, and engage in what is demonic methods of targeting someone with engineer light sweeping through the apartment. This is what RGS is doing, because those sex offenders are hostile, because I documented them with regard to what they actually do. Monitor the genitalia of a woman in bathrooms. And then they're hiding. Oh, nothing to see here. I'm not doing anything. I'm innocent. I'm landscaping outside. I'm nowhere near any bathroom. What is the targeted individual talking about? This is the entity that tells itself this is what the whole purpose of gang stalking in the first place, because it defies nature. It's supposed to be that which is defying the ability to prove what they're engaging in. Okay, I've circumvented all of Satan's malice. And it's understood as the malice of a corrupt government that's acting with the population. It needs the population that is of the same condition, because you're not accidentally or coincidentally engaging in this pattern of conduct in this environment. It is there for that demonic purpose. You got people that are going to mental asylums for it, and they're going to prison for it. It's currently, again, 6:07 p.m. This is criminal interference with quiet enjoyment while this engineer light sweeps right on through this apartment, even while I'm in real time recording this podcast. And Daryl J. Carter, the executives of the corrupt third party that is maliciously presenting its business as a means of criminally facilitating federal group stalking and monitoring, which the evidence is suggesting. The evidence is establishing and proving. And no third party, no commercial actor like AVANATH has any actual constitutional protection. You're going to be prosecuted for it. Your property was used to gang stalk somebody. The government was using your property. The government was using the people of the state on the grounds of your property. Your employees were gang stalking. AVANATH is not actually ignorant. And you also know that this is why the Lord permitted you to witness me being gang stalked by my own employer that just so happened to be in the same line of work, property management. Speaker Companies was gang stalking me as an employee of that third party. AVANATH Capital Management, that is headquartered in Irvine, California, is not ignorant about the fact that their employees, that their property is the headquarters for the pattern of conduct. This is what they're doing throughout the state. And this is also speaking to how that commercial actor is going to be prosecuted. I'm not only prosecuting the people of the state who are gang stalking me physically, I'm going to prosecute the people of the state who act commercially with regard to commercial stalking. All right, as I've termed it, the commercial means of stalking, which is the highest level of malice that the people of the state pose against you. Because remember how it's supposed to result. The people of the state are engaging in that which is supposed to seem disconnected. They're supposed to appear disinterested. They're even supposed to appear legitimate while they're providing a service, engaging in their business, something that's certainly more important than the targeted individual who's making allegations that are unsubstantiated, allegations that about things that you've never heard of, things that don't make any sense on its surface, like strangers stalking them. And they're supposed to create an illusion of mental illness by that targeted individual. And it is the utmost malicious engagement in the pattern of conduct by that demon-possessed population where these corrupt businesses are engaging in the P.O.C. while providing services, while making money. That's what they're doing when they're delivering anything, when they're on the grounds providing any services, when they're a part of the government engaging in services. The government doesn't have any right to do any of that. They don't have any constitutional right to engage in any business. They don't have a constitutional right as the property itself. Remember, gang stalking is not based on some sort of chronology. Who was there first? The specific environment follows me. So whether you were here on February 1st, 1979, before I was born, obviously, but just giving you an example, chronologically, you were there at the apartment complex in 1979, January 1st, 1979, and I arrived January 1st, 1980. The specific environment arrives when I arrive while I'm subject to the P.O.C. and you'll be prosecuted, and you do not have a right to be there because while the specific environment is there, the government is engaging in surveillance. You do not have a right to be there. This sense of belonging is now put into proper context. The government is maintaining that system where the fake sun, the specific environment is present. It is not based on some illusion regarding some sense of belonging. This is how the demons think that they can gang stalk you where they live. They can gang stalk you where they work. They can gang stalk you at public facilities like at the mall, like at the grocery store, like at the restaurants. And they all are in for a rude awakening. It's the P.O.C. All right. Gang stalking at 6:10 p.m. With regard to stalking with light on the patio glass door where the entity has the fake sun, which you already know. At what is 6:18 p.m. as the video that I referenced. And the same sex offender that's gang stalking with minor children, those children are going to be protected and removed from the custody of the people of the state. And the ongoing stalking with light is the evidence of the violent threat and the sexually violent threat that the people of the state pose while I'm still subject to this environment. And the same entity is gang stalking. It's pointing directly to the threat that is posed to minor children who are used to engage in domestic terrorism and sexual violence. All right. While the entity is gang stalking, they are accruing their own federal charges, and they are all going to be dealt with comprehensively from the top all the way down to the so-called bottom. But I want to be clear, they are all under my feet. These are all demons. But Satan has created its own little hierarchy, esteemed itself as one way or another, and they're all demons. They're all in the gutter. They're all vile, disgusting creatures who engage in shameful things that they are then hostile and embarrassed about. And so they resort to more and more criminal activity. While you practice your witchcraft practicing, I'm prosecuting you. You're going into asylums. All right, it is currently, again, 6:12 p.m. This is P.O.C.